In a historic and closely watched moment, the Supreme Court has delivered a unanimous 9-0 ruling, sending a powerful message about the clarity and unity of the nation's highest court. The justices came together on a controversial federal gun law, a subject that has divided lawmakers and citizens for years, and one that sits at the heart of ongoing debates about the Second Amendment. The decision, issued today, October 20, 2025, addresses a critical question: can a person's status as a user of certain substances, such as prescribed medication or even illegal drugs, permanently strip them of their constitutional right to bear arms? The court's answer is a resounding no, making it clear that status alone is not enough to justify a lifetime ban on gun ownership. This landmark ruling will reshape how lower courts interpret and enforce gun regulations, setting a new and far-reaching standard that will influence legal decisions for generations to come. The justices' rare unity signals a deep and fundamental agreement on a core constitutional principle, transcending ideological divides and reinforcing the importance of individual rights. Legal scholars and experts are already calling this decision a turning point, noting how it clarifies the boundaries of government power when it comes to restricting fundamental rights. The case forced the court to dig deep into the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation, examining what those traditions truly mean in practice and how they should be applied in today's world. The immediate impact is clear: a specific federal statute has been invalidated, changing the legal landscape overnight. But the consequences reach far beyond this single law, challenging a wide range of regulations that restrict gun ownership based on status rather than proven danger or criminal conduct. In the coming chapters, we'll explore the case's background, the court's detailed reasoning, and what this historic decision means for the future of gun rights, public safety, and constitutional law in America. At the heart of this case was a controversial federal law, Title 18, Section 922G3, a statute that has shaped the intersection of drug policy and gun rights for decades. This law makes it a federal crime for anyone considered an unlawful user of controlled substances to possess firearms, regardless of whether their drug use is occasional or habitual. Enacted in 1968, during a period of heightened concern about crime and social unrest, Congress intended the law to keep guns out of the hands of those whose judgment might be impaired by drugs, hoping to prevent violence and protect public safety. But the law's language is notoriously vague. Terms like unlawful user are not clearly defined, leaving courts and law enforcement to interpret them in widely different ways. This has led to confusion and inconsistent enforcement across the country. As a result, the statute's reach has swept up a broad range of people, from those struggling with serious addiction to individuals who use marijuana recreationally, even in states where it's legal under state law. This has sparked heated debates about fairness, personal liberty, and the limits of federal power. The case at hand began with Ali Daniel Himani, a Texas resident who was indicted after federal agents discovered a pistol and evidence of marijuana use in his home during a search. Importantly, Himani wasn't accused of any violent act or intent. His only alleged crime was being a marijuana user who also possessed a firearm, a situation that many Americans could find themselves in. This set the stage for a direct constitutional challenge. Does mere drug use, without any violence or threat, justify stripping someone of their Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms? The government argued that it did, insisting that public safety concerns outweighed individual rights. But the Supreme Court would ultimately see things differently, questioning whether the law's broad sweep was truly justified. United States versus Himani started in a Texas federal court, where Himani's lawyers challenged the constitutionality of the law itself. They argued that the Second Amendment protects gun ownership for self-defense, regardless of marijuana use. The district judge, citing the Supreme Court's 2002 Eidin Schau, Amparin Stanim, Andaiden Kuer, Bagendazuwensi, on Brun decision agreed, modern gun laws must align with historical tradition. The government failed to show that, historically, people were disarmed simply for being users of intoxicants. The indictment was dismissed, a major blow to federal prosecutors. The government appealed to the conservative Fifth Circuit, arguing that old laws against arming drunkards justified the modern ban. The case now had national implications. setting up a precedent that could affect thousands. The Fifth Circuit's ruling would soon escalate the issue to the Supreme Court. At the Fifth Circuit, the government argued that banning drug users from owning guns was like historical laws disarming habitual drunkards. But the court disagreed, finding that historical laws targeted dangerous conduct, like being armed while intoxicated, not mere status. There was no precedent for a blanket ban on all users, regardless of behavior. The Fifth Circuit drew a sharp line. Regulating conduct is constitutional, but banning based on status alone is not. This ruling directly contradicted other federal courts, creating a circuit split. Such splits often prompt Supreme Court review to ensure uniform federal law. The Fifth Circuit's decision declared the federal ban unconstitutional in most cases. The government, facing legal chaos, appealed to the Supreme Court. The stage was set for a landmark decision. The Supreme Court took up Himani's case because of the circuit split and the urgent need for clarity. Federal law can't mean one thing in Texas and another in Pennsylvania. The case also gave the court a chance to clarify how its 2022 Bruin History and Tradition test should be applied. With states legalizing marijuana, millions of Americans were caught between state and federal law. Legal in one, felons in the other. The Department of Justice warned of chaos if the split wasn't resolved. The justices recognized the need to address the intersection of drug use, gun rights, and evolving social norms. Only the Supreme Court could settle this constitutional dilemma. The nation waited for a definitive answer. In a landmark decision, the Supreme Court unanimously struck down the federal ban on gun possession by unlawful drug users, reshaping the legal landscape for gun rights in America. This ruling marks a significant moment in the ongoing debate over the Second Amendment and the limits of government power. The court's reasoning was rooted in history. They found no historical tradition of disarming people solely for substance use, unless there was clear evidence of dangerous conduct. This means that simply using drugs without more cannot be grounds for losing your constitutional rights. The key distinction the court made is crucial. Regulating dangerous acts is constitutional, but banning gun ownership based on a person's status alone is not. The government must focus on actual behavior, not just labels or categories. Importantly, the ruling doesn't prevent laws against carrying guns while intoxicated or in sensitive places, like schools or courthouses. Those laws target specific conduct that poses a risk, rather than punishing people for who they are. Going forward, the government must show a direct and specific link between an individual and demonstrate a danger to justify taking away their right to bear arms. Vague suspicions or broad categories are not enough. The 9-0 vote shows broad agreement among the justices, across the ideological spectrum, that the Second Amendment cannot be overridden by legislative labels or assumptions about groups of people. This decision sets a high bar for any law seeking to disarm a category of citizens. Lawmakers will now have to meet strict standards and provide strong evidence before restricting gun rights. The Bruin standard is here to stay, and the court made clear it won't accept weak historical analogies. This ruling will shape gun rights debates and legislation for years to come. The immediate effect: the federal law criminalizing gun possession for drug users is invalidated. Thousands convicted under this statute may now challenge their convictions. Prosecutors must stop bringing charges under this law, and legislatures must rethink status-based bans. New laws will need to focus on dangerous conduct, not who a person is. For millions using cannabis legally under state law, the ruling resolves a major legal conflict. Responsible gun owners, especially veterans using medical cannabis, gain peace of mind. The decision also opens the door to challenges against other status-based firearm prohibitions. The focus: now only those who are demonstrably dangerous can be disarmed. The Himani decision will drive a new wave of litigation on gun rights. The Supreme Court's unanimous ruling in United States v. Himani is a watershed for the Second Amendment. The right to bear arms cannot be denied based on status alone. The government must prove actual danger or deep historical precedent. The decision cements the history and tradition test as the standard for all gun law analysis. Lower courts and lawmakers must now ground restrictions in robust historical analogies. The ruling empowers challenges to a wide range of status-based gun bans. The legal landscape for gun rights is set for dramatic change. The court's message is clear. The Second Amendment is a robust individual right. The debate over gun rights will now be fought on the terrain of history, forever altering America's legal and political landscape.